All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from across the world, and welcome to the first episode of Pitch Deck 101. In the event that you want to learn more about Pitch Deck 101, I want to encourage you to go to pitchdeck101.org. Now, this platform, it has been built out for multiple reasons. And one is to provide a diverse range of services to businesses. One, we see that very often businesses try to access capital, but struggle in this process. And even when they access capital, they struggle to exit the debt portfolio. So what we have done in developing the Pitch Deck 101, we have built out this platform to not only help businesses to access capital or to leverage capital to exit the debt portfolio, but we have also set up this platform to provide them with a range of business services that can help them to leapfrog their business objective. And I'm happy that today we have a very unique individual who's here with us, and her name is Dr. Grace A. Kelly, and she's very impeccable. She's a best-selling author. She is a trauma coach, and she is the mind behind the Olive Branch Global LLC. Welcome, Dr. Kelly.
Thank you, Gary.
All right. It's a pleasure to have you here today. I want to begin today's program by asking you to tell us a little bit about the Olive Branch Global LLC. What is the big vision behind this operation?
Okay, thank you for that question. The Olive Branch Global LLC has a vision to support individuals, families, and by extension, communities on healing, getting through their pain. We are affording individuals an opportunity to get in touch with their pain because, pain not identified cannot be healed. And we are in the healing business. We have come to recognize that right now, say, for example, we have been going through significant challenges during the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. And we have seen in the past where there are several other pandemics that our nation, our people would have gone through. And on the verge, right now, we are on the verge of a mental health pandemic if we are not careful. So Olive Branch, as it is suggesting, reaching out to impact persons, to take them from their pain to the hope side. We support them navigating through the various challenges, and we also afford them an opportunity to retell and not relive their story. We allow them to be able to deconstruct the issues surrounding their scars, their pain, and deal with that one pain point at a time. We provide training for support service providers who would be at the forefront, first responders and other persons who are interacting with these individuals who need to probably even be referred to the quality service for the quality service that they need. But we do training, we offer those kinds of services, and I'm very excited to be able to be at the head of this august body and also the organization that is going to be the difference maker when it comes on to these kinds of challenges that persons face when they are going through grief and when they are bereaved.
All right, thanks very much for that overview of what your operation is looking at. And I'm very happy that you would have pointed out that due to the global pandemic, there's evidence today that there is some form of a mental health crisis, that we are seeing some evidence of that. And I do know for a fact that your platform is a platform that can help to push that back by providing the practical tools and solutions to help persons who may be at the verge of collapse or would have gone past that point to pull back and to get some perspective on that. In case for the audience, in case you're wondering where Dr. Grace A. Kelly is from, I want to just emphasize this. She is a multiple best-selling author, and she is from Jamaica, but she spent many, many, many years living in America. Today, she has an American-based operation, which is the Olive Branch Global LLC. So she brings a Caribbean flavor and an international flavor to what she does. And of course, she is building connection with a number of subject matter experts across the world to ensure that she's bringing the kind of programs to ensure that her platform, they're able to touch, transform, impact your life in many ways. And as we will look at today, to ensure that you get the results. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, Dr. Kelly, I know in previous conversation, we would have talked about some specific areas that your brand focus on. And two things that I want to focus on now is one, how your brand help people to build self-awareness and perhaps the importance of this. And second, how it helps person to build self-confidence and the importance of all of this. Back to you, Dr. Kelly.
Thank you, Gary. And may I just correct one thing, just to say I would love to perhaps have that credential of having lived in the US for a number of years. Actually, I've studied in the US. My 3 higher level degrees spanned 10 years of my going back and forth in studying at Andrews University in Michigan, and while working at Northern Caribbean University in Jamaica. So I still hold that dear to my heart, but I've not lived legally in the US. Also, I appreciate the fact you mentioned about the global reach. I've traveled widely, very widely, providing service and consultation with various nations and people to provide answers to their family and sometimes individual and national crisis, some of which are out there in the social space that can be referenced. Now, as it relates to what we do and the concept of how it relates to building self-awareness and self-confidence. Self-awareness, simply put, is having an awareness of who you are, why you exist, your purpose in life, the whole gamut. One, when someone is affected by trauma, there are some natural repercussions, some persons would say. It pulls on your person. And if we are not careful, and note the choice of words, if we are not careful, what will happen? We are so hard on ourselves. We become very critical of ourselves to the extent that we may even experience or get into the state of being self-sabotaging, sabotaging when, people, we intentionally or unintentionally take disruptive and destructive steps to hinder our own success. And when we do that, we harm ourselves. We mentally and socially, we sometimes become withdrawn because we are no longer feeling self-fulfilled and actualized. And you talk about the self-confidence. So both of them combined are affected when we are hurt and when we are going through our pain. And if it is not addressed early, it can lead into other challenges. And one author even called it what, complete self-castration can happen. You may not have heard that term before, but self-castration can happen if we are not careful. So our organization, the Olive Branch Global, is designed to reach persons when they are at that lower and even providing support, pre-trauma, pre-grief, just support for them so that when they are faced with these challenges, they are equipped with the tools and expertise needed to navigate their way through it.
Go ahead.
You see, one of the things that cause us to sometimes do what we call as the self-sabotage, in which it's, if we are fully aware of ourselves, we don't do anything negative. If we are fully aware of our purpose or origin, where we are from, where we are going, and what we are here to do, then it seems as if we have a natural flow. It doesn't mean you're not having challenges, but at least you have something to buffer. That is why we encourage that parents spend time and resources in helping their children to build their inner strength so they can be courageous, so that they can be resilient, and that will hinder them from choosing the path of fear, because fear and insecurities resulting from past trauma are usually the root of some of these things that cause us to lose the concept of who we are and the confidence in our ability to become. And I will just say, to become.
Yeah, that was very, informative. I am happy that you would have also mentioned a couple of things. You mentioned that your institution focus on the pre-trauma. You have a pre-trauma focus, and I love that, because you're not necessarily waiting until someone is in crisis and then give them the tool to push back. But what you're doing, you're making persons aware of factors that can lead to trauma, and giving them that game plan as to how to prevent it. And that's how to continuously take ownership of your sense of awareness, your sense of self, your sense of purpose, and for to push your self-confidence forward. I love that. I also love that you would have mentioned that you're also interacting with young people, because here is where you tend to have perhaps the most vulnerable cases, among young people, because they're the ones that are searching for that identity. They're struggling with that sense of self and all of these different things. And your program in itself provides strategic intervention to young people that really helps them to become that healthy, productive human being that, is ready to face the world, because your game plan give them that blueprint to make that happen. I really love that. Now, I want to talk briefly about how this platform also is built out for the corporate community, because you and I, we are aware that in the workplace today, we have a number of persons who are downregulated because they're functioning under stress, they're functioning under trauma, and they're masking it every day with a smile. Would you care to say if your institution also focus on these areas of the corporate sector?
Yes, most definitely. And thank you, Gary, for zeroing on that, because one of the things that we need to recognize, our organizations or the leaders within organizations need to recognize, is that productivity, I think it's Covey who spoke about the product and the product capability. in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, something I've been reading over 20 odd years now. And when we talk about the product and the product capability, normally in an organization, we tend to look at the output, the product. What is it that the end result? Nowadays, it's called or talked about, the bottom line and so on. But what about the product capability? How much emphasis is given on ensuring that the duck is fed, the duck is well mature and able to produce the golden eggs consistently. Now, when persons go through trauma, I bring an example. Yesterday, I went to a business to interact with someone. I went to surprise her, actually. And when I got there, I was told she wasn't there. Nobody said why she wasn't, which I think professionally it was okay. But when I got back and in my comfortable space, I called and I said, hey, I came to surprise her, you were not there. And the person was like, wow. The person broke down on the job the day before because a week ago, the individual lost a family member to criminal acts. And that in itself, the trauma, you imagine being in a space where you're interacting with individuals and someone walked in that reminds you of, they have some characteristics of your family member who died, or something triggers something, and immediately your mind is no longer at ease. People working in the financial organization, in banks, bank tellers and all, how do they focus? And yes, they have counting machines, but you have to do your double checks. You have to be able to write information. And if you are not focused and if you do not have a healthy mind, you are going to be in serious challenge. So matching your personality with your jobs, making sure that the persons who are there are the right fit. So there is round pegs in the round holes and not the square in round. All of those things you have to take in consideration, because if you are not comfortable and well placed based on your training, your personality, or even that which drives you, what motivates you, if you are not motivated, you will not be productive. So yes, it is very critical. And so we do have opportunities, and we are in collaboration with other organizations that will support the holistic development of persons within the business world so that they can be empowered, equipped to become efficient producers. So that would be my response, Gary.
Wonderful. And I'm really loving it that you're taking a very holistic approach in how your institution, the Olive Branch Global, how you build out your platform to not only impact the average individual, but also members of the corporate community. Mm-hmm. While I know you spoke to the employees, and we are recognizing ever so often that even the top executives, they're mm-hmm. under pressure too, mm-hmm. and with our interaction, I'm quite aware that your programs can also help to impact their lives in a positive way. Now, mm-hmm. I want to just shift attention to one of the methods that you're using to help to reverse traumatic experiences that persons are going through. We would have talked about the book therapy and using this formula to help break the cycle of traumatic experience. Would you care to talk to us a little bit more about the book therapy?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Gary. And again, as we seek to reduce, not reverse, because traumatic situations cannot be reversed. You cannot undo what is already done. but you can reduce the impact that it has on the person moving forward. Okay, so as we seek to do that, one of the special method that we are using, as you mentioned, is the book therapy. So Write to Heal, okay? And we provide them with the support. It's not just, you know, you mentioned that I am a multiple best-selling author, #1 best-selling author since January 2022, and we are in June. Now I have contributed to 4 such, okay? Why would I want to do that? Because sharing your story, all right, it changes your story. It gives you an opportunity to empty yourself, as it were. It's a very therapeutic process just to be able to write. And we give our subscribers an opportunity to work with clinical and counseling psychologists. We do have writing seminars and workshops. So they go through that process. And we have my 3-step formula for grieving, healing, and restoration. They go through that. I use my concentric circle unique to the grief and bereavement process that was developed in 2010 in my book, Grieve If You Must, the 21-day plan for grieving, healing, and restoration. We use that for them to unpack what's happening, identify all the challenges that they are faced with, and deal with them one pain point at a time. So I hope this is answering your question, because it's not just being able to find persons who could contribute to the process of writing an anthology. It's finding individuals who have come to that point that's saying, enough is enough. I want my life back. And they are asked the question, what's holding you back? And when they get a chance to review, they will find out, hey, but nothing or no one is holding me back except me. So I now need to use this opportunity in a safe environment to unravel, open up, own, and treat with my pain, one pain point at a time, until grieving becomes as seamless as breathing. Because one of my quotations is, grieving is to pain as breathing is to life. If you want to live, you breathe. If you want to heal, you grieve.
I love that. And what I really love about what you were saying is that this book therapy process is really to get that persons to open up and to really understand those pain points, to document it, to take ownership of it, and ultimately is to rise above it, take ownership of your life, and to move forward.
So they are standing on their story rather than in their story.
You got it. You got it.
Retelling rather than reliving.
Good. My other takeaway is that what this process allows them to do is to recognize that they are not defined by the experience, because they have the ability to change that perspective and use that experience as a stepping stone to touch other lives through the book writing, through the storytelling, to change their lives, and to also monetize the entire process. We'll come to that in the next broadcast, but I really, really love your platform. I do believe it is absolutely necessary. What you're doing, I believe it can touch lives, it can change lives, it can truly transform people's lives. And I do want to give you a tremendous encouragement to keep doing what you're doing at the Olive Branch Global LLC that is out of Georgia, in the United States of America. With that being said, I am going to ask you to give your closing remarks, and we will prepare for part 2 of this program. So what is some important takeaways that you would want the public to have, or some of the main reasons that you would want the public to come be a part of the Olive Branch Global? Now, first of all, I want to just put this out there. Persons can go to the Olive Branch Global LLC.com, and you will have some more information about this wonderful project that Dr. A. Kelly is the lead person on. Dr. Kelly, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Gary. I'll end by saying the Olive Branch Global, born out of a need to find a safe haven, safe space for individuals to treat with their pain and move from what we call from scars to stars. And so we are very intentional about what we do. And there are several families, there are several communities that cannot afford to get the support that they need and the mental health support. And mental health, when I speak of mental health, I'm not talking about psychiatric care, even though that could be a part of it. It doesn't have to be as dramatic as psychosis and those kind of psychiatric issues. It could be very well just to be able to learn how to make informed decisions and also how to treat with the everyday challenges that one experiences. Okay, there are persons who need that support, churches, schools, organizations across the world that need that support. So the Olive Branch Global provides that space, and we are going to be having some webinars that persons can access for free. And then there are going to be other kinds of services that it does take cash to care. So one would need to know that they need to invest in their personal and mental health development, and so they can subscribe to those programs. But just come by, see what we offer as we develop, as we grow. We want to take you along with us so that you can spread your wings to access these resources so that you can be the answer to someone else's concern in a very dynamic and affordable way. Externalize our problems and enhance your self-esteem. Retell your story instead of relive your story, and also ensure that the persons within your spheres of influence are supported. And even if you cannot be the one to support them, we will teach you how to identify when they need these kinds of support and knowing where to find the answers.
That was wonderfully said. And I'm fully aware that this is the tip of the iceberg in terms of the programs that you've done. I know yourself and your team, you've spent quite a number of years researching, studying, compiling, testing, applying. Now you have your master plan, your master program. And the aim is truly to touch and transform lives. So there you had it, public. We had a candid conversation today with a multiple best-selling author, Dr. Grace A. Kelly, who is the director for the Olive Branch Global. And the Olive Branch Global key focus is to interface with persons generally, because she provides pre-trauma coaching and post-trauma coaching, so as to enable you, whether you're the average person, whether you're a business owner, whether you're an aspiring person, to provide you with the tools that allows you to take back your life take control over your destiny and position yourself for greater success. Dr. Kelly, it has been a pleasure being with you today, and I look forward to doing part 2 very soon. So audience, do stay tuned for part 2 of this interview. Goodbye, Dr. Kelly.
Ta-ta.